Hello everybody and welcome back to a new video on Stardew Valley. It's been a hot minute since I've played this, but I've really been wanting to get back into it. And for anyone who is wanting to get back into it, or maybe you're brand new to the game, I thought I would put out just a short video on some top tips that I like in early game. So let's get into it. First thing you want to be looking at, if you're brand new to the game, I would suggest going with the standard farm to begin with, just to get a feel for the game, how you like to do things, and then later on, if you want more of a challenge, try the wilderness farm. Monsters come out at night, it's always fun. For a good balance, Four Corners farm is one of my top favorites, because it has a little bit of everything. But before we get into all of that, the first thing you're going to want to do is create your farmer. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. So here's our farmer, suspiciously looking pretty much like Bob Ross, but hey, it's never a bad thing. All of these things here don't particularly matter. The favorite thing is when you get a star drop. That's what it tastes like apparently. What I'm going to do is quickly skip intro just so we can get straight into it. So you get dropped off in Pelican Town, you're here in your new farmhouse. Let's take a look outside. All looks pretty fresh. Definitely one of the first things you want to do is check this little package here. You get 15 parsnip seeds. Now, there's a great debate on whether to sell them straight away or plant them. I, for one, personally like to plant them because they grow quick, they'll get you up your farming level so that you can get scarecrows sooner. Some people like to sell them to buy potatoes. I think that's okay, but you do run the risk of buying the potatoes and then having them lost to crows. One thing that you may want to do, I find this really helpful, I'd completely forgotten to do it this time, is put on always show hit location, especially when you're clearing things like trees and stones in the early game, because obviously any actions such as, if we take this stone here, that uses up a bit of our energy. So anytime you miss, you're not going to achieve anything, but you will lose energy. Now, an exception to this is the scythe. You can use the scythe, it takes no energy, but you can cut the grass. When you first start off, definitely worth doing is cutting down as many of these weeds as possible. As I said before, you use your scythe, you're not using any energy, but you may come across mixed seeds. They will give you a random crop, depending on what season you're in. So as we're in spring, it might be parsnips, it might be potatoes, it might be anything. So, but definitely worth it because they're free, and all you got to do then is plant them. There we have it, our first crops. Early game, a good little thing to do would be to gather 50 wood so you can craft a chest. And that way, because of your limited inventory space at the time, you've got somewhere to stash all your unwanted goods or things that you don't want to sell straight away. After cutting down some trees, we've made ourselves a chest that we can pop down just here. Right click to go into it, and you can store some of your goods that you don't want to use, or like things that you don't need now, like watering can. Don't need that at the moment. But as you see, after doing all that, I'm left with not much energy. So we're going to rectify that by heading south straight away. The reason we come down south is because of the spring onions. This time of the year there's plenty of them normally. Obviously this time I got a bit unlucky, but hey. But we can use those to eat, and they bring back a little bit of our energy each time, so it's about 13 energy per one. Obviously depending on the level of the spring onion, it might give you more. So for instance, a silver star may give you, I believe it's 17 energy. Another thing worth doing, especially on your very first day, is coming into town and checking all the bins. Make sure that no one sees you doing this, because they will dislike you. And just like that, just after checking all the bins in town, not a great haul, but as we said before, this is all free items. Got 2 Joja Colas, some bread, which is good for energy, and some green algae. A bonus little tip for the chest is making sure that you try and save at least one of each item, because this early in the game, you never know what people might like. For instance, this may be considered trash, but I believe it's Shane actually enjoys the Joja Cola, so therefore it makes it a good gift for him, so it's worth keeping. So once it gets to 12 o'clock, you'll notice it's getting late. That's an indication of try and get home, get some sleep, because I believe after 1 o'clock, you wake up the next day with a slight loss in energy, otherwise you'd be full energy. And if you go past 2 o'clock, you will pass out, you'll be teleported back to your bed, and after 2 o'clock, some items will go missing, and you may lose some coins. So we're going to pop to bed now before it hits 1 o'clock. Something I completely forgot to do was to check the weather. So tomorrow it'll be raining all day. When you start a new save file, it is always raining on the 3rd, so don't worry about any of that. And also to check my fortune. Everything in this game pretty much comes down to luck. Depending on like the items you can find, how many of them you can find. For instance, the spring onions from yesterday. If I had a good luck day, I may find more. Then what we want to do is take some of these spring onions, move some daffodils and some dandelions with us, and we're going to head into town. Now you can give every villager 2 presents a week, unless it has their birthday, in which case you can give them a 3rd present on their birthday, and I recommend you always do that because it gives them a big boost in friendship. If you come up to Pierre's shop here and look on the left hand side, you can find a calendar that will tell you all the days where someone's birthday is. So for instance, we've got Mayor Lewis, we've got Vincent's, we've got Haley's, and also any special upcoming events such as the Egg Festival and the Flower Dance. Now the Egg Festival is definitely one important one. You want as much money as you can before that date, because Pierre then sells strawberry seeds, and those are money making machines. But then you might ask, what do I do with my money making machines? First thing I always like to do is come up here and buy the new backpack for 24 slots, making your inventory space a lot bigger. And because we are on day 2 now, we should be able to go to the beach and get our first fishing rod. Talk to this guy. There'll be a cutscene, so it's fine, you can't miss it. But he will give you a fishing rod. So when you want to fish, hold the left click button down, try and get it to max, and then release. And then if you get a bite, left click again, and then left click to try and keep the bar behind the fish until the bar on the right hand side is full up, in which then you get to catch your fish. And there we have it, got ourselves a flounder. And the good thing about fishing in this spot here is you can take it directly to Willie and sell them straight away. Now, whilst walking around, you might find these little things. I like to call them worm plots. And if you hoe them, you get items. Sometimes it's things like iron ore, clay, or it may be items that you donate to the museum, which is always worth doing. Final little tip for the beach is just over here. You have a little bridge that's broken. Right click on it, it'll tell you with 300 pieces of wood this area can be fixed. You can reach the other side of the beach here, which has a lot more shells, therefore good for money, and it shouldn't take you too long, maybe one day of cutting down trees and you'll have the 300 wood. And for one of my final tips, which is one of my favorite ones, is instead of cutting down all the grass, so all this actual grass, not the weeds, these can go. But if you've got the actual grass on your farm, keep it. Once you build a silo, then cut it down because it becomes hay, which obviously your animals need for food. Otherwise, you have to buy it from Marnie. So, well worth keeping, and it grows on its own. So if you cut it down, for instance, if we take a little spot like this, if we were to leave that, maybe knock down the rocks that are around it, it will grow back on its own over time. So it's an infinite source of food for your animals. So yeah, that's all the tips that I have for you today. Hopefully be coming out with some other videos. At the moment it's a bit of a turbulent time with a new job and everything and trying to plan a wedding. So yeah, if you have any tips that you know of that I missed out for like the early game, please feel free to leave them in the comments and then I can share them out with other people. But apart from that, I hope you have a smashing day, evening, night, no matter what time you're watching this. And I hope to see you in the next one. Much love.